Mr. Man and Little Miss at the Airport by Adam Hargreaves. Little Miss Sunshine was at the airport. It was one of her favourite places. You won't be surprised to learn that Little Miss Sunshine loves to go on holiday. And there is no better place in the world than the airport to start your holiday, with all those planes leaving for all four corners of the world and so many shops to visit while waiting for your departure. Mr. Adventure was also at the airport. For his holidays, he liked to go on adventures in remote tropical rainforests or distant frozen wastelands, taking with him only the bare minimum. Great! I'll grab my stuff!
This is going to be the best vacation ever!
Unlike Little Miss Splendid, who never got the whole travelling night thing. She had bought a ton of luggage which contained, among other things, 3 different hats for each day. Mr. Silly, on the other hand, had taken his skis so he can race down the sandy beach. How silly! Little Miss Sunshine smiled. All this promised a memorable holiday.
Enjoy your trip, Mr. Adventure!
Said Little Miss Sunshine to Mr. Adventure as she waved goodbye to him. Wow, thanks! I hope you have a great time too! Cool, huh? He replied, laughing in front of Little Miss Sunshine's friends, cluttered with all their luggage. Ha ha ha! Placing all of Little Miss Splendid's suitcases as Mr. Silly's skis, snorkel, and inflatable rubber elephant on the scales of the checking counter was quite a task. And when Little Miss Splendid's luggage almost broke the balance, they all began to envy Mr. Adventure's organisation. I can assure you that everything is essential, insisted Little Miss Splendid without convincing her friends. Maybe Mr. Forgetful could get some things from Little Miss Splendid, as he hadn't thought of packing his bags at all. He forgot his passport. But luckily, Little Miss Sunshine knew about it. She had taken it from him. I didn't know someone was hanging on to it, I think. There was a bit of an issue when it came to checking Mr. Impossible's passport. He had to turn upside down to look like his passport photo to prove it was him. You know, I could have flown there by myself, he explained, smiling. But then again, I've always wanted to fly by jumbo jet. Then it was time to go through security.
Can you show us how this works, Little Miss Sunshine?
Giggle, Little Miss Giggles.
Okay, you got it, Little Miss Giggles. This is where your hand luggage passes under an X-ray to check that it does not contain anything that you cannot take on the plane,
explained Little Miss Sunshine. It didn't take long for the customs officials' faces to look surprised when they discovered the bizarre contents of Mr. Silly's hand luggage. Does anyone wonder why? Well, you never know. You might need a portable toaster so you can have your breakfast on the go, a water faucet to have a drink, and best of all, a pair of boxing gloves so you can defend yourself from evil buggers. The customs officials were even more surprised when Mr. Impossible went under the gate and they realized he didn't have a skeleton. But that's impossible. Well, jellyfish don't have bones, and no one says that's impossible. The Mr. Men and Little Misses then went to the departure lounge. I'll stay here and watch over your luggage. Yawned Miss Lazy, while settling himself on the chairs comfortably. Little Miss Splendid went into loads of stores. There were all sorts to buy, such as fashion stuff, gifts, souvenirs, or basic necessities. What will she pick? Little Miss Sunshine noticed a little restaurant that she wished to eat at. Oh, may I join in too? Asked Mr. Greedy, whose stomach hadn't stopped rumbling since he'd arrived. The food tasted so good. Mr. Greedy, greedy by name and greedy by nature, decided to go to all the other restaurants. Luckily, their departure wasn't until later.
Wow, you certainly had a lot to eat, Mr. Greedy.
I sure did, Little Miss Sunshine. Hey, you gonna have that spaghetti and meatballs or what? When they got back to the departure lounge, Little Miss Sunshine found Miss Lazy sound asleep. She then decided to spend a quiet moment watching the people coming and going while her friends roamed around the airport. And eventually, the boarding gate was announced, and the Mr. and Little Misses eventually boarded the plane. Luckily, her friends appeared at the same time. Little Miss Splendid had her arms full of new bags, and Mr. Silly was wearing the goggles and skiing gloves he'd bought for the beach. Ready or not, here we come! Eventually, after struggling to get all of Little Miss Splendid's bags into the overhead luggage compartment, they settled down in their seats. Miss Lazy dozed off again, but Little Miss Sunshine didn't want to miss anything. She loved it when the plane accelerated along the runway before taking off to the skies like a bird. Everyone fastened their seatbelts, and the air hostess gave the safety instructions. Mr. Silly got into his seat. He ended up knocking off Little Miss Splendid's hat in the process.
This is gonna be fun!
Squeak, Little Miss giggled as she watched the clouds go through the windows of the plane as it took off. Then it was the moment that Mr. Greedy had been waiting for. Meal trays were served. However, the quantity was not as he had expected. "Oh, may I please have another?" he asked the hostess politely. "I'm sorry to say it wasn't an all-you-can-eat buffet like the ones you or I go to." Sadly, he had to wait until he could eat a bigger meal again.
I hope everyone has brought their sunglasses and sun cream,
said Little Miss Sunshine as the pilot announced landing. But when she looked out of the window, she noted the sky turned black and shades of very, very dark grey. And the rain poured down in torrents. We could only hope that Little Miss Splendid had bought some raincoats and umbrellas in one of her suitcases.